Welcome to today's session, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. Myself, Kamlesh Shumale, and I'm the founder of Energy Mobility. Sir, sound echo हो रहा है क्या मेरा?
नहीं, साउंड आपका बिल्कुल सही आ रहा है.
साउंड सही आ रहा है, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है.
Please go ahead, Kamlesh. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you. So I will brief you what Lenergy do. Lenergy Mobility India is providing EV training and development support for the various industry leaders and automobile sector. Lenergy Mobility provides मिनिस्टर साहब का कॉल आ गया. हेलो सर, आप वो लिंक डाउनलोड कर लीजिए एंड यू कैन कनेक्ट डायरेक्टली. नहीं या हो गया सर लाइव है.
Kamlesh, I think we lost connection to Naveen sir and Mr. Roger. So can you have a look?
No, I'm here. I can see Roger also here.
No, I'm still here. I'm still here. Just muted my microphone.
Yeah, great. Okay. Kamlesh, please proceed, Kamlesh. Okay.
Yeah. So Lenergy also provides the detailed training and for graduates and academic institutes for the sole purpose of skill development. I welcome all guests and the speakers of the event. Member of Parliament Kupalji Tumane and Munjal sir, Managing Director of Hero Electric Vehicle. Roger from Electrical Vehicle Outlook. Mr. Dr. Apoor Ranjan Sharma, co-founder and president of Venture Catalyst and 9 unicorns. Karthik Kalesa, director of JICA Motors and secretary of TAI Nagpur. Thank you, Naveen sir, for joining us. Now, without any further add-on, I will introduce Naveen sir to over to. Hello.
Yes, Kamlesh, you are quite audible. No issues.
Naveen sir, can you? Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm here.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I've just put myself on mute, so there's no noise from my side. But I'm here.
Yeah. So now we can introduce Munjal sir to present the views on electrical vehicle and Hero Electric technology.
Thank you, Kamlesh. Good afternoon, all of you. It's a pleasure being here today. I do hope all of you are doing well and your families are well amidst this unprecedented times. So I'll just give you a very brief background on what we are doing. So we've been in electric mobility for a long time now. We actually introduced electric bicycles in India way back in 2000, 2001. That was well ahead of its time. Then again, we introduced in 2004. And then we actually introduced electric scooters in India in 2007 and have been building the market since then. In 2009, we also established the Association for Electric Vehicles, SMEV, which is the only EV association in India. And I'm the president of that for the past 10 years. Now, Hero Electric has been pioneering a lot of new initiatives over the past 10, 12, 13 years that we've been in existence. There's a lot of new things that we are doing. There's a lot of, I'll give you some examples later, but there's a lot of stuff that we've been doing in order to make the vehicles customer friendly from an economic standpoint, environmental friendly, and also make them better quality for a better experience for the customer to use. Now, just to give you an example of what we're doing currently. So we have, our product range is, we have 5 platforms, 5 different vehicles, and we have 11 variants on top of that. All our vehicles have lithium-ion batteries. Majority of our market is lithium. We sold over 50,000 units last year. We have very different vehicles catering to different segments and categories, right from the starting point when you first have an electric mobility or electric scooter, catering to B2B segment to a high speed. So we're trying to cover a very wide spectrum of customer base. So the customers are ranging from students who are going to college, to women drivers, to people who are going to workplace, even commercial applications and other applications. So very wide range of products. We have over 3 lakh vehicles on the road already in the country and over 500 dealers. We've also trained up about 5,000 PGOs, preferred garage owners, which are roadside mechanics to be able to fix our vehicles and service our vehicles for us. Now, in terms of the technology, the way that we are using our vehicles is that they all have portable batteries. So there is one battery which works all across all the product range. So for us, inventory control becomes easier. For a dealer, and I see some of them also on this call, for them, inventory control also becomes very easy because they've got a number of vehicles and then they can have a limited number of batteries. So they're not stocking up on batteries a lot because battery maintenance is a big problem, is a technical issue, and you have to maintain the batteries and you have to regularly charge them on a regular basis. Now, products have evolved substantially over the last number of years. They've gone from being lead acid batteries to lithium ion, and we are giving a warranty of 3 years on all our vehicles. Now, what we've also started doing post-COVID, and this is during the COVID time, is we've already been engaging with our customers in a very substantial manner. So we've been engaging with our dealers and customers. So one is extensive dealer training that we already do. So that is of the dealer owner plus the technical staff in order to how to sell the vehicles and how to fix the vehicles. So we are also engaging with our customers by doing webinars just the way that we are doing right now. So we actually talk to our customers also like this. We've done numerous of such sessions where we've engaged thousands of customers in addressing any concerns that they may have or any questions that they may have on electric mobility. Because a lot of people, like if they haven't tried out an electric vehicle, they don't really understand it too well. They don't understand how it functions. If you look at now our price point starts at 40,000, goes up to about 85,000. In terms of the cost of running, the TCO, it is much lower than an IC engine vehicle. And it's even much lower than taking public transport on a regular basis. So if you're taking public transport and going to one is the low speed, below 25 kilometers. Then is your city speed, which is up to about 50 kilometers. And then is the high speed vehicles. In the city speed and in the low speed, your cost of ownership is very, very low. And that is where the efficiencies actually come into play. Battery replacement cost is low. Your batteries are portable, so you can easily make the batteries portable. Take them up to your apartment, charge them, take them to your shop, charge them, take them wherever that charge them. You don't require any special infrastructure for charging. And on top of that, your battery replacement cost at the end of 3 years or 5 years, whenever the battery needs to be replaced, is going to be nominal, not very high. So from every perspective, it makes sense. This category makes a lot of sense. Then when you look at what we've been doing in the past, is we've been engaging, like I said, we've been engaging actively with our customers. So one of the points that came out was that customers customers have not tried out, or potential customers have not tried out electric mobility so far. So if they haven't tried out, how do they really buy it online? So what we actually started is home delivery of vehicles and a 3-day trial program also, where you track it for 3 days, you try it out. If it works for you, well, and doesn't work for you, return the vehicle. In the process, we've got thousands of sales, but really no return, because once you've tried out an electric vehicle, you generally don't go back to an IC engine. There's no vibration, there's no noise. It's a very smooth ride, and it's a very nice vehicle to use and drive. We've also been running a campaign called the Green Helmet Campaign, which is code Green. So where we were distributing green helmets to people who were buying our vehicles in order for them to stand up. Besides that, we've also been installing a charging infrastructure across the country. And this is a low-cost charging infrastructure, but a very dense charging infrastructure, only for people when they have range anxiety issues. So people still have range anxiety issues. People still feel that I'm using an electric vehicle. What if my battery runs out? What if I'm stranded, etc.? So like I said, our batteries are all portable to start with, which means you can take them out. They're about 10 kilos. If you're a heavy user, we can give you 2 batteries. In some cases, we are also going to be giving 3 batteries, which are going to go to a range of 150 kilometers or so. So from every perspective, we're trying to offer a customer and keep it as modular as possible. So you as a customer choose from one of our 12 variants, which vehicle you want, what range you want to go to, and what speed you want to go. And we've got a vehicle for you. So
Thank you. Yes, sir.
yeah, wait. So I can stop here. I'm open for questions, etc., and then we can again engage.
Yes, sir. So, if hello.
Can't hear you.
So, what do you think about the top challenges getting electrical vehicle in India road?
So there are numerous challenges. One, of course, is the assumption of infrastructure. So when you look at electric mobility, you have to break it up. The requirements for 2-wheelers versus 3-wheelers versus cars and other public transport are very different. Now, one of the challenge that people can assume is that I don't have charging infrastructure. So I was telling you that we're already installing a dense charging infrastructure. Another challenge is the lack of awareness itself. If they haven't really tried out a vehicle, or if they haven't really seen an electric vehicle, because the population of electric vehicles is still very low. Maybe large in our own sense, but as compared to IC engine, which is over 2 crore units, 20 billion units, electric is still very, very small. So when it comes to awareness is very poor. Second factor people assume is the resale value of the vehicle. What will happen to the resale value? Whereas if you look at electric mobility, if you change the battery and if you change the motor, you don't need to change the motor, it's going to last you many years. But once you replace the battery, the vehicle is almost as good as new. Unless in the case of an IC engine vehicle where you need to do engine overhauling and you need to do a load of other things for the vehicle. In this, you don't need to do that. So once you replace your battery, then it can easily change. Then the vehicle is almost as good as new. I see some questions also coming up on the side. So I'll just...
Yeah.
So Roger's asking, building gigafactories in India and renew and recycling of batteries, what's the plan? Absolutely. Right now, volume of batteries in India, when you look at lithium, Roger, is quite small. So last year, just to give you a scale, we sold 150,000 units, and that's across the industry. We've sold over 300,000 units, but that's across lead acid and lithium. So at this point of time,
Right.
the number of batteries that are out in the market are only about 3 to 4 years old, and they haven't really started coming back in for recycling yet. But what is going to happen is, one, to manufacture cells in India, to have a gigafactory, we need a certain volume, and cars are not taking off at this point of time. The number of cars, electric cars on Indian road, are quite small as compared to 2-wheelers. So 2-wheelers is going to be the base on which is going to ride the cars and other forms of mobility. So till such time as we don't achieve, it's a chicken and eggs, till such time as we don't achieve a certain scale, it's not going to make sense for gigafactories to come up. In terms of recycling, again, we need a certain volume in order to justify a recycling, the investment that's going to go into a recycling plant. Just to give you an idea of scale, there is a company which set up in north of India, which set up a scrappage plant, a modern scrappage plant for the vehicles which are going out. He's not able to generate enough business. He just doesn't have enough business because the vehicles are going from the urban centers into rural centers, but they're still getting used for a long time. And then the scrappage policy is not come into play. So he doesn't really have any vehicles for scrappage. So at this point, it's a matter of scale. Should the scale come first or should the infrastructure come first? So we believe that the infrastructure needs to come first, which is why we are installing this charging infrastructure, why we are getting these batteries. We are getting these batteries assembled in India. And what's going to happen is once they come to the life cycle, end of life cycle for two-wheelers, they're going to go into stationary applications and other applications. So a lithium-ion battery is not going to go out of the system for the next at least 10 to 15 years. It's going to remain.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly. I see some more questions asking that resale value of used batteries. Yes, there is resale value of used, there's value of used batteries as well, because like I said, they will get recycled and used into stationary applications. Somebody was asking if the batteries are imported or lithium-ion batteries are available in India, imported. The cells, like I said, are not manufactured in India. So if you look at it from that perspective, they are imported. The cells come from various countries, Taiwan, China, Korea, Japan, depending on which company you're working with. Can we achieve the same speed with regards to petrol or diesel car? I'm talking more about two-wheelers, but for cars, yes, you can achieve the same speed. In fact, the fastest car and the fastest two-wheeler in the world actually is electric. It's not IC. So in an electric vehicle, what you have actually is less moving parts, there's less friction, and so the vehicle can actually go much faster than an IC engine. But what happens, as I was explaining, there is a certain cost curve. So the minute you go beyond that cost curve, beyond that performance, there's a certain performance level. Once you go beyond that certain performance, they actually become more expensive to run in terms of the TCO, total cost of ownership, than an IC engine vehicle. It's if you look at your normal car or scooter, you always have, even if the car says 240 kilometers on the speedometer, there is a green band that you've seen between 60 and 80 kilometers or 100 kilometers. If you're driving at that band, you're driving maximum efficiency. The minute you're going over, your average of your car also comes down. It's the same with electric vehicles. The minute you're pushing your battery a lot, your range is going to take a beating. And the minute you've got a very large battery, you can't make it portable. And the cost of replacement of battery would be very large, very high.
Sir, Ajit Mane has joined, Member of Parliament of Rampet. Welcome, sir.
Ji, namaskar ji.
सर आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है वहां से.
Mute में.
Naveen sir, good afternoon. So, yeah, sir, this is Lalit. Sir, I'm having a query related to skill development particularly. So, am I audible, sir?
You are.
Yeah. So, sir, my query is related with the skill development. So, as the current scenario in the automobile sector right now, most of the human capital we are having in the automobile market, like dealers and suppliers, so they are quite familiar with the, you can say the traditional technologies like ICs and all. So, what are the major challenges to overcome this? Because, we will be having a significant requirement and significant demand and supply of electric vehicle in the market, then that appropriate human capital which is trained, that will be required. So what do you think, like, a company like Lenergy Mobility can contribute into this, and what are the major challenges to overcome the skill gap which is currently present in the market?
Very good question, Lalit. Lalit, the point is that the skill set for electric is slightly different from that of IC, though there is a common platform also. So even an IC engine or electric, you require mechanical skills which already exist. But in electric, you have to go beyond that because there are electrical skills also that you need to build up. Now, either you need to build up or you come from an electrical background. So there are numerous things which come into play in an electric vehicle which are not there in an IC engine vehicle. You rightfully said that the skill set is very different. So that's why I said earlier, we've been training up the PGOs, the roadside mechanics, to be able to service our vehicle should the need come down to that. We have also been training extensively our dealer network on how to handle electrical issues. In electric, it's a much simpler form, but you need a different skill. So that skill set, you have to train up the people. You have to give them that level of training. So, which means in electrical engineering, telematics.
Okay.
Going forward, even artificial intelligence will come into play. AI, it's already coming in a big way. You also need chemistry, for example, but it all depends on what is your skill set and what is your interest level. Everybody doesn't need to go into electrical engineering, and everybody doesn't need to go into AI and other areas. We have mechanical requirements also. So if you're a mechanical engineer, there is room for you. There is certainly work for you to do. But at the same time, it's going to create new jobs and reskilling in computers, in IT, in telematics, in electrical engineering, etc. So those are new skills which will have to be built up.
Okay, so for the existing human capital, we have to come up with a solution, which can further brush up their skills so that they can consecutively transfer from the conventional market towards the new electric mobility.
If you look at it, just to give you an example, when we had taxis, then we had shared mobility.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Exactly.
And everybody came in.
Yes, sir.
Same drivers who were driving a taxi now suddenly had a smartphone where they knew how to navigate using navigation. So it wasn't very long, just a few days of training, and they were able to use that. It's somewhat similar because it's reskilling into a slightly different direction. And over a period of time, you will get the hang of it and understand it.
Okay. So these students, because many of students have also already joined us. So this is a message from your side for those students. Like it doesn't matter, even if they are a mechanical engineer or they are an electrical engineer. There is a scope available for everyone in the new.
Absolutely, including things like charging infrastructure will come into play eventually. Will come into play. Battery assembly, manufacturing, motor manufacturing, which is more mechanical than electrical. So it's going to be multitude. It's going to be a bunch of whole things.
Thank you so much, sir.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon, sir. So this is Manoj. Actually, I have a question which is slightly different. That is, I'm wanted to see Hero as an entire group, and how do you balance the Hero IC engine part and EV products? I mean, do companies have reservations on providing the complete range of EV solutions, as they might cannibalize the existing product range?
Very valid question, Manoj. See, a company which is already manufacturing IC engine vehicles is already doing very well for themselves. For them to switch to electric is a slightly tough one, because you have to look at what stage do I switch. There is going to be cannibalization, of course, for sure. So they have to look at and they have to put into consideration at what stage do we shift. The dealer network, the whole ecosystem is built around IC engine. It's not built around electric. Whereas if you look at us, and some of them may launch some products, but that would form a very small part of their whole ecosystem. If you look at a dealer, for example, an IC engine dealer, actually his majority revenue comes from service, not from sales. In our case, it's very different. Service revenue is very low. It's actually sales revenue, which is coming to play here.
Apurva sir, can you present your?
Hello. Yeah, Arushi is on the call. She has my presentation. Can you share?
Yeah, I will. I am sure. Yeah. Is it visible, sir?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we can go to the next slide. That's my presentation. That's my introduction, by the way. So go to. So very quickly, first of all, I think thank you for inviting us to present this August forum. I understand there are many students also in audience. Is that so?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So, I was just, because we are primarily investors into EV space, I was just evaluating how many unicorns are there across the globe, especially China and US in electric vehicle space. I could figure out 11 of them, and I also saw that one of them is in India now. That is Ola Electric. So we and majority of them, of course, five or six of them are in China, and 5 or 6 of them are in US. But the space outside India, of course, has grown a lot, especially China and US and Europe. It has grown significantly. That number of unicorns shows about the kind of development in that space. Go to the next slide. Go to the next slide. Yeah. So if you ask me, how do we look at the EV space from the investment point of view? We divided market into multiple subsectors. At one end, there are companies which are into EV manufacturing, right? So Naveen, Mr. Munjal has just to you, and they are into that. But there are companies like Aether Energy who raised significant VC capital. Then there is ETO, and then 22 Motors. So they are primarily into electrical vehicle manufacturing space. As of now, we do not have any investment in that space, but we are definitely evaluating some companies on that. Then there are companies which are providing infrastructure to these electrical vehicles. So they are into charging stations. Some of them are into battery swapping. So that's a segment. That's another segment. Then there is a segment which is providing the EV commercials. They're like cab services. That includes companies like Blue Smarts. I could not see. I can't see the screen. Can you guys? I can't see.
Yeah.
I can't see my screen. There's no presentation there. Suddenly it's black.
Yeah, sorry, sir. Sorry.
So there are companies which are into EV manufacturing, sorry, EV infrastructure. Please help, so there's the companies which are, like companies like, Kamlesh, I can't see the screen.
Yeah. Sorry, sir. Now, sir?
I can see some gentleman face, not the presentation. Yes, it's there now. Now I can see. Again, I'm seeing your face now. Okay. I can't see anything on the screen except your face.
Some issues going. Yes, sir. अब दिख रहा है सर?
या दिख रहा है, थोड़ा नेक्स्ट स्लाइड में जाइए. वो फिर बार-बार किसी का फेस आ जाता है. या यहाँ पे लाइए.
Sorry.
Yes, hold on. And there are companies which are into last mile connectivity. Go back to the previous slide, please. Okay. So there are companies which are into last mile connectivity, that companies includes like Yulu, Yulu, Mobisys is there, and these are the companies who are providing the last mile connectivities. Um, there are cab services like Blue Smart, which is available. There are companies which are Ola Electric also available in the market now. So and then now I just heard that there's a EV training and education coming. So that's also interesting. OnBike is also our portfolio company. Mobis is also a portfolio. They are into last mile connectivities. So these are companies which basically helping, for example, Domino Pizza guys to go and deliver. So they will be providing bikes to them. So or maybe Mobis is a you can rent the bike two-wheelers from them, electrical two-wheelers. So go to the next slide. Go to the next slide. As far as the interest is concerned, go to the next slide. As far as the interests of the consumers are concerned, so Deloitte has done a survey where they have realized that overall the interest in China and US and China and India is huge, whereas the countries like we still have a lot of penetration yet to happen. As far as the global passenger sales vehicle sales are concerned, it's still at the bottom. There are China, US, and Europe. The penetration is as well as the sales figures are much higher. The projections are that maybe in next 10 years time, you will have significant number of vehicles here. But like Mr. Munjal said, we are still the sufficient number is yet to achieve. But that's why the infra and all they not able to sustain. They are not getting the unit economics. But I think in the next 10 years time, definitely this passenger vehicles, the sales are going to grow. Go to the next slide, gentlemen. Go to the next slide. Okay. So this is a slide where I want to talk about some of the Indian companies we recently funded into the EV space. Yulu is one company based out of Bangalore, which is app-based bicycle. So it's like Hello Bike of China. Hello Bike is a decathlon in China, and this company is providing the last mile connectivity. You can get the bikes on rental and use it, and leave it at the dock stations what they created. The another company, Euler Motor, they got funded recently, Delhi-based company. They are into electric vehicle developers. Again, they are many. Ola Electric, they are unicorn now. They are basically EV ride handling platform, very much like Ola, but in the electric mode. Uh, you know, Another company, Charge Zone, they are providing the charging station solutions. This is a Vadodara-based company, and they are developing the infra. Then VLive. So these are some companies which recently got in 2020 during they got funded. Race Energy, another company, they are into powertrains and battery swapping solutions. Go to the next slide. So I can see that there is battery swapping facilities nowadays available at Indian Oil petrol pumps. So recently, 26 June, Chandigarh, it was announced. Go to the next slide. So this is becoming popular nowadays. One hand you see the interest level of the consumer is much higher. On the other hand, you see the vehicles are still very small. Blue Smart, they are just at the moment maybe 350 plus vehicles in the market. You will see mostly in Delhi. Blue Smart, you can book it, but there are 45,000 downloads. That shows how many people are interested versus the number of vehicles what we have. This company, some individual capacity, we were involved as an investor, and we're looking to invest maybe in this round again. This company is completely like providing, Ola type services, but on the vehicles are completely electric vehicles, and they're also setting up the charging station for their, vehicles. Go to the next slide. Currently, they have around 100 charging stations. Go to the next slide. Okay, so Mobis this is our funded company in the past. We funded them first. We were the first investors. So they used to provide if you come out from from metro station, you can use their vehicles to go to, the if you're working in HCL or you're working in some other IT company, so you could have picked up this and then drop it at the dock station in HCL itself. So this company is also doing very well, especially in the Gurgaon region, and they also looking to become big. Go to the next slide. I think here I end my conversation. If you will have any questions from me, I'm happy to answer that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any question related to investment?
Hello, Apoorv sir. Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Hi, sir. This is Lalit. Sir, I'm having a query. Like I've seen overall portfolio of investment that is very good, and it is I can say it is a hope for the entrepreneurs, who are right now looking for a bright or brighter future in the electric mobility market. So I would like to know, sir, do you have any plan? Like most of the investments are in the techno-commercial or kind of technical forms, like or maybe the B2B kind of a form. So do you have any plan for investment in the firms, which are dealing with the skill development, or particularly if I talk about the skill development in the electric vehicle mobility, like Energy Mobility, who is the sponsor of this webinar? Do you have any plan or do you have any view? So please share, sir.
Yeah. So I frankly, I mean, after hearing some of you today, it has drawn my attention because this space will require a lot of education, and this will, and the company which enters into EV training and development, I can say that's a great future. So definitely, if you have plans on that, please reach out to us.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Any other question from Sumane sir? Do you have any question?
Uh, yeah, Kamlesh, can I ask one question? Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Hi. Hi, sir. I mean, my question is on a different note. What we are seeing in recent days, that most of the unicorns right now are either acquired by some of the major players or are under radar of big companies such as Amazon or of its kind. So, do you think that the inflection point of electric mobility is around the corner, and going forward, we may see such big companies on road, say by 2025 or so?
Yes, I think great future in the next couple of years, next 5 years. We are right now in the inflection point. The good part is there is a good government support coming also for that, and there is a precedent set in other markets already. I mean, China has great precedents, and even in US and European market. So we are at the inflection point. Next 5 years or 7 year important and critical. I think hopefully with the government support, this is going to be a big opportunity.
And so, on the similar note, I have one more follow-up on that. I mean, how do you see? I mean, as far as this as far as startups are concerned, most of the investments are happening on BEV parts, and in India basically. And how do you see investments on fossil hydrogen for hydrogen cells as well? For example, the way Nikola has come up so strong in the recent share prices. How do you see that opportunity in India?
You're asking about these, lithium-ion batteries, or the future of the batteries, which basically help these electric vehicles.
Also,
You're asking about that,
electric
right?
vehicle as far as this hydrogen fuel cell, sir.
Hydrogen fuel. See, I'm not an expert, especially this vehicle, but I remember there was one company at my incubator. They developed, electric the batteries for electrical vehicles, and they got multiple round of funding by now. The Gentleman was one of the earlier the unicorn founder, and he started that. So, but they are just not serving to Indian market, because Indian market at the moment for electrical vehicles is very, very small. But they are even serving to the international markets for that purpose. So, their product is such that, they can serve for larger time, this for longer time. So they've been talking to Tesla to, provide those batteries. So, there are companies who are developed great, batteries in India, battery technology. Don't know about hydrogen cell was there or not, but, they were talking about some lithium ion, kind of batteries to be used for that purpose. Ion Energy. The name of the company was Ion
Okay,
Energy.
yeah, that is based out of Mumbai.
Yeah, so
They are
I mean,
working.
I incubated that company actually.
Yeah, that is mostly based on battery management system. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Glad to know that, sir. Thanks, sir.
Over to Roger.
Yeah, sure. Are you sharing my? Are you going to put my presentation up, Kamlesh, or shall I share my screen?
Yeah.
Thank you,
Or which
gentlemen.
one?
It's visible?
Are you putting the presentation up, Kamlesh?
Yeah, I'm putting the presentation.
Okay, for all of that. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I've joined today for three reasons, really. Number one, Kamlesh invited me, and I like entrepreneurial spirit. I like young people that try to make a difference. That's number one. Number two, Naveen Munjal is somebody that I've admired for some time. I've told you all that, I think, a little bit earlier. And number three, India is probably the most important and significant part of the next component of the electric vehicle story than any other country in the world. Because of the growing population, because of what's been happening in China and not been happening in India. So there are many things that we need to fix. So my background is in and around EVs. I do a lot of my work on LinkedIn, or mainly my work is on LinkedIn. And what Dr. Apura has been sharing in terms of startups and some of the innovation coming in that, and what Naveen has been talking about really fit into what I'd like to discuss. I've been in the automotive sector for 30 years and EVs for 15, and I'm 61, so I've been around a little bit. I mentioned LinkedIn. Can you not show the presentation, Kamlesh? Does it not work? We've just got
It's
one
working.
screen. No,
Yeah.
you can't do it. Okay, I'll just talk. Let's not bother with the presentation. What is about to happen is the mass adoption of electric buses, taxis, vans, scooters, bicycles, not electric cars. The switch from EV to EV from ICE is not the full story of what we need to see. This will not deliver the changes in terms of air quality and the changes in terms of climate change in the way in which we'd like to see. Kamlesh, don't bother with the presentation; it's confusing. Just leave that for the moment. So if you look at ownership per thousand of the population around the world, in India, it's around 22. In America, it's 840. What does that mean? People choose to own cars, and they have for 100 years or more. And it's been the biggest mistake. So the switch from over to EV isn't just about that. It's about the switch from owning to using. It's the switch to buses, shared mobility, to electric taxis, to electric scooters, electric vans, etc. This can be and will be the only way we tackle the principal challenges that we've got. So this puts India in a very strong position. Let me tell you why. You have a relatively young population. They are pretty well educated and they're entrepreneurial in spirit. You have access to huge opportunity with renewable energy, particularly solar, and therefore storage. So I agree with Naveen on almost everything that he talked about earlier, but I would perhaps politely suggest that the battery isn't just about mobility. It's of course also about renewable energy. So having your own gigafactories within the country and localizing as best you can the supply chains to produce those batteries isn't just for electric vehicles, electric scooters and buses and so on. It's also for renewable energy, for renewable energy storage. So the development of microgrids, the ability for the nation to shift to much less reliance on oil and much more reliance on renewable is predicated on the battery being at the heart of this. So the battery is there for renewable energy and the battery is there for electric mobility. So I think that the journey that you're on now, the one missing link in what happens next for EV and renewable energy in India is political leadership. The singular reason why China is much more advanced than India isn't because of intellect, isn't because of entrepreneurial spirit, isn't because of the capability of industry to do things. It's because of the lack of cohesive leadership that joins up a long-term plan and then builds into that the building blocks of how it all comes together. China has a program called Made in China 2025. It's a strategic outline that incorporates not just new energy vehicles, but new energy as well, and many other things. So Mr. Modi, having just won a second term, has got a golden opportunity to build on the consistency he has now of what he's doing. And please bear in mind, I'm not wishing to be political in saying this. I don't know enough about India, and I've never been to India to have a real proper opinion. And you shouldn't listen to anything I think about that, because I don't know anything about it really. All I would say, as I said before, is that India now sits at the cornerstone of some amazing changes, and it has as I see it from an outsider, much more going for it than it has against it. The biggest challenge is helping your politicians understand that there is a golden opportunity here to rekindle the dynamism of India, the culture of the people, the entrepreneurial spirit, the intellectual capital, and be a huge part of the circular economy, where we're going next with the 21st century. So I'd be very excited to be in India. And would I be frustrated? Would I be disappointed by many of the things that happen? Of course. But I wouldn't let that defeat me. And I think Naveen, in his journey over the last decade and some, is a good illustration of that. So look, that's my kind of run through of it, if you like, without the slides and things. And look, it's a challenging things to put these things together, Kamlesh. Not everybody's Wi-Fi works well and all of that sort of stuff. So listen, I admire you as a young man pulling all of these people together, and I think students and young people looking to learn, it has to happen to bring the revolution on. So that's really all I wanted to say. So any questions, yeah, more than happy to answer them.
Hi, hi Roger.
Hi Toketi, how are you doing?
Hi, I mean, just to introduce myself, I am working for a company called Messilio Mobility Private Limited, which is into the EV last mile delivery segment. So we use a lot of EV fleet here in Hyderabad and the other two cities like Bangalore and Chennai, like 150 odd numbers in each city. So day in, day out, when I look into the operations, the prime concern that I look at this point is the safety of batteries being switched. And I've seen Apurva sharing a couple of thoughts on petrol bunks being facilitating the battery swapping options and making sure the cities are ready for the EV charging stations. So keeping all this in mind, how far are we ready, or how far are we from ready for this particular whole setup, so that we can run the operations as a fleet with an ease? Because as I see, I mean, as I totally agree with you, US, Europe, and China are far ahead from what India is at this point of time. But safety is what I want to. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, safety is a fundamental. You will not get accreditation in any market unless, in terms of the homologation of a vehicle, large or small, the safety criteria has been met, has been matched. But coming on to your central point, for sure, the rest of the world is more advanced in terms of a lot of the activity, technical activity and innovation. But where the rest of the world isn't advanced, and India has an advantage, is in the culture of sharing. The sharing economy is part of the circular economy, and the circular economy is the only way this shift works. And so inherently, the Indian nation is a nation of people that understand working together gets better results. People work more in teams and have more innovation capability to come to the aid of people and fix things quickly. You're an amazing nation of fixers. My son and his friends drove across India in tuk-tuks to have an experience of India. And they said wherever they had a problem, wherever they stopped, somebody just appeared and could fix it. It was amazing. So culturally, you are probably in the best place in the rest of the world in terms of adapting to the sharing economy. Safety is a fundamental. You're right. Battery swapping, I'm a fan of, but when it's small batteries, as Naveen says, you can click a cassette out. Companies like GoGoRo and Hero and other people, you can take your battery out, you can put it in a cassette, you can take it up to your room and charge it. All of that's very good. But the last thing I'd just like to say, if sort of adding on a little bit to your question, I think that the sharing economy will be about public transport and cars, definitely. The micro-mobility revolution, I think, and this isn't just COVID, but COVID is going to impact it a bit, is that as micro-mobility gets cheaper and cheaper, rather than paying to rent a scooter or paying to rent an electric bike over and over again, with the mass adoption of those vehicles, the cost will come down to a point then where people will simply buy them. And it will make sense to own a relatively inexpensive asset with not too much, material in it, but then, doesn't share it with the world. It's the use of cars that only get driven 10% of the time that's crazy. We make about 80 to 90 million cars a year around the world, and between 90% and 95% of the time, they don't get used. That's a disgraceful use of very valuable assets. But in micro-mobility, with a scooter that might cost, I don't know what the equivalent is in India, but let's say $100 or something, or $200, owning that, because there's not a lot of asset involved in that product, makes sense for the individual and the industry and the environment.
Thanks, Roger.
Tata electric vehicles, as well as we also sell the Kona of Hyundai. So as of now, as rightly said, if anybody touches or rides the electric vehicle, he will never go to IC. But I was actually looking at why the best markets in Norway, why has it picked up so much, and when can India have a market share close to that? What year? So the only thing which I can understand is the cost. So a Tesla in Norway costs somewhere around $70,000. And in India, if I had to ask a person to shell out even 15 lakh of rupees, which the Tata Nexon is, it's still a leap. And he starts to compare all the features, etc., what he's getting in IC, and the cost of ownership is drawn over a very long time. So the customer really doesn't, consider it. Second thing, the view of or the willingness to go green in the Indian psyche is not there as of now. At least that is my experience. That has to be really enforced, I would say, from the government. Secondly, whatever, as it was mentioned earlier as well, that the government is actually doing quite a lot. So I was comparing what the Indian government is doing and what Norway is doing. There are only two things which are not being done in India: is the different roads in some areas for EVs and free toll. These are the only two things. But GST is only 5% for electric vehicles in India, vis-a-vis 28 and 45% for SUVs and normal vehicles. And the road tax is negligible. So whatever you are paying for an electric vehicle, 95% of it is actually going, or 93% is actually going towards the vehicle and not for taxes. If you compare what money goes in buying an IC versus an EV. So I think it's more of a cultural shift, and secondly, it would be a as and when people have that kind of disposable income to actually go and graduate to a more expensive and a cleaner technology. Yes, people talk of infrastructure, people talk of range. I really don't think that's a barrier, because 350 kilometers is being given by even the Tata vehicle, or even the Kona, which is around 25 lakhs, or the MG Hector electric, which is also around 25 lakhs. So I think as and when India grows and becomes a higher power, things will improve. And one more thing, maybe the government, I can only say that maybe funding on green vehicles or EV vehicles, if that is cheaper, I think that is the only impetus which is missing. Apart from that, I think the government is doing everything they can. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Dr. Satyendra Patnaik, sir, from MIT University.
Mr. Kamlesh, I think Professor Satyendra Patnaik is having some network issues with him, so he might have disconnected.
Can you speak, sir? Surender sir.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Kamlesh. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. I am Professor Surendra Ramatkar, and I am the Dean and Director of the MIT School of Engineering and Technology, the MIT University, Chhattisgarh. And I'm thankful to the Mr. Kamlesh for providing me this opportunity to express the views and the opinion on majorly the emphasis on the educational sectors. As I was interacting and listening with all the resource persons today, and I feel that there is a lot of the potential market is looking forward by all the companies as far as the consumers and the technology development is concerned for the electrical vehicles. But there is the certain challenges are also there that is required to be addressed on this forum. And as I already asked to the Mr. Naveen Munjal sir regarding that the innovations and the technology development in India. So that I feel that as academicians that this would be a major challenge in India for promoting the electrical vehicles or the green vehicles, because of presently we are in the initial of the manufacturing or assembling the electrical vehicles here. But I feel that we are lacking in the country for developing the technologies for the electrical or the green vehicles. And obviously, being as an educational institute or educational sector has to play a vital role to come up with this the development of the technology in collaboration with the industries. As already there is a lot of the transformations are already taken place in the education sector, and the almost all the premium institutions they have imparting the educations in the industry 4.0. And as the Mr. Naveen has already told that there is a lot of the applications and the technological environments is required. For example, the AI will be required, that electrical engineering is required, the mechanical and the automation is also required in this. So I feel that there is a vital role has to be played by the educational sector. And as Amity, I look forward that the Amity being as a global leader and having a lot of campuses in the abroad countries and almost all the state in India, the Amity has shown their existence. So we are also providing the advanced curriculum in as far as the technological development is concerned. And I'm also looking forward to be associated with all these the companies those are seeking for the technological supports or the skill development, so that the future stakeholders can be skilled in this technology. And parallelly also we can take the benefit of the electrical vehicle mobility. The major the advantages that I feel that being as the Indian communities that they may get, that is the number one is the running cost. So that will be reduced drastically if you are using the electrical vehicles. That will also serve the purpose because of there is a lot of scarcity of the fuel energy sources are being observed at the world level. So that will also compensate with this technology. And the third and the most important is the environmental sustainability. So all these are the points that will encourage the use and the application of the electrical vehicles in the market. And obviously, it is going to be considered as a future of the automobile industrial sector. And because of right from beginning, we are observing a lot of changes, and now the electrical vehicle is going to replace with all these the IC engines. And as far as the skill development is concerned, so for that, all these for the industries, those are working in the field of the electrical technologies, they require to come forward and they join hands with the academic institutions. Those are providing the advanced the education by using the emerging technology. So that will also be helpful, and that will be win-win situation for the industries as well as the academia. The important aspect that I would like to share today, because of my major emphasis on the innovations and the research and development. So the all these industries, they require to come forward and to provide the entire support to the academia, so that the researchers those are working in the academic institutions, they can also participate and they can come up with the fruitful results and the innovations, and that will be quite helpful for developing the better technologies and the improvement in the existing technologies that is majorly required. So this was the prime focus and the prime emphasis from my end as a academician. So I feel that it is a good opportunity for the India and for the industries that we are coming up with this new technology. Thank you very much.
Mr. Kamlesh, can I put a question to Mr. Naveen Munjal?
Yeah, sure, sir.
I'm Dr. Prakash Barjatia. I'm academician and deputy director of the CIRT Pune. My basic question in the change circumstances where majority of the persons they are coming back to India from the overseas, and most of them they are going to the rural areas. That means now they will be expecting a more better conditions in the rural, especially maybe say in the transport also. Now their immediate requirement may be the transport that is in the two-wheelers specifically. Then again, as Mr. Naveen very clearly said that they are using lithium-ion batteries. He also mentioned that yes, technology is not available in the country today, and they are all imported from the various countries, China, Taiwan, Japan, and all that. Okay. Now, post-COVID situation is completely now going to be different, because now government is emphasizing on Atmanirbhar, vocal for local, and made in India and all that. So again, if we see the global scene, in fact, in so many countries still two-wheelers they are running on the lead acid batteries. What is required is what I feel is a improvement in the lead acid battery, which technology available, manufacturing facilities available, everything available as an immediate measure, specifically for two-wheelers. Will it not be worth to consider the lead acid batteries, and so that they can provide made in India and also the cheaper version to the all users, specifically in the rural areas? So I would like Mr. Naveen Munjal if they can.
Thank you, Mr. Bajatia. We don't actually subscribe to that. So we are moving away from lead acid batteries, and we've moved away substantially from lead acid batteries since a long time. Now there are multiple reasons for that. So as I was talking earlier, one of our business models is that we want to have portable batteries in our vehicle. You can remove the battery, charge it at your home, even if you're living in a block of apartments, plug it back into the vehicle and run. If you have 5 vehicles or 3 vehicles at home and you have batteries, or you change your vehicle, you should be able to continue the battery, taking the battery forward to the next vehicle and thereafter. In lead acid, there are limitations. Size, weight, the number of charges that you can do with the lead. Now, there is really no real innovations which are happening with lead, because it's not a very clean technology from a standpoint of the chemicals that are used in the lead acid in the vehicle. Unfortunately, we still use lead acid in a very extensive way in IC engine, but in electric, at least there's a move away from lithium. What's also happening is in lithium-ion batteries, the price has been coming down and will continue to come down, or the performance is going to keep on increasing. in the last 10 years, the price has already dropped 85% in the last 10 years. It is at about $156 or $160 for the cell level right now, which is expected to come down to about $75 to $50 in the next 7 to 8 years. So right now in two-wheelers, there is still a price differential between lead acid and lithium, but that gap is reducing. And the benefit that the customer is enjoying out of lithium is substantial. So I can tell you from our case, a lot of our customers, even though we had some lead acid vehicles, we have some in some rural markets, they're already there because people want it, but they're switching away from lead to lithium, even at a slightly higher price point, simply because of ease of use, longer battery life, portable batteries, they charge faster, heat is not having such a huge impact on them, the way that our battery industry is. So we are a firm believer of using the latest and the best technologies. And there is not much R&D being done on lead acid globally. So lead is not really making, long term, it's not going to be a battery of choice for us.
Thank you. Now, only one thing, when we consider the Make in India concept, in that case, what is your take out on that? Because now lithium ion is still imported.
It is. The cells are still imported. And I think in the chat also I mentioned that there are numerous factories which exist in countries like China and Taiwan and Korea and Japan, etc., and even in Europe. And there's not a single cell manufacturing facility in India so far. So right now, it's going to be assembly of batteries here, till such time as it makes economic sense for somebody to set up a battery manufacturing plant, which is what we should be doing. So, but it's a matter of chicken and egg. It's a matter of, does the cart come before the horse or the horse comes first? So we are continuing to push that. Even if that's what we're saying, that, in two-wheelers, the volume is going to be large enough to justify or to be able to support or to sustain a large manufacturing plant eventually. And that should be sooner rather than later. The government also understands it. In fact, they're giving a substantial push to the industry to say that, set up a battery manufacturing facility in India, cell manufacturing. We don't want to rely on external sources all this time. But again, these things do take time. And some of the other countries have been far ahead of us when it came to policies and decisions, etc., and investments. We are starting late, but nevertheless, we will get there soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Kamlesh, can I ask one question to Mr. Roger, please?
Yeah, please.
Hi, Roger.
Hi.
I'm intrigued by your statement that India will be the next sweet spot for EV, and the way you emphasized on the role of government and policy to enable that. However, from a competitive advantage and economies of scale point of view, China is far ahead of us. How do you think that pulling the EV and battery manufacturing companies would be feasible for India in future, in a near future?
Well, I think given that e-buses, e-taxis, e-vans, etc., I truly believe are where we need to see mass adoption. You have amazing companies in Tata and Mahindra, and a number of others, as well as the companies like Hero. And I think forming a consortium of these companies and working closely with each other and the government is how you do that. And because India is blessed with so much sunshine, the ability to rapidly develop your renewable energy journey and combine that with the journey towards more electric mobility and shared mobility, puts you in a very good position. But I think it's about getting that collaboration, finding the difference between competition and collaboration. Don't fight amongst yourselves and look at what you have within. You don't need to have support from all over the world necessarily. You want some help for sure. There are people that can do that. But I think there's enough talent within India for this to be a made in India, revolution and a made in India shift that doesn't have to rely and be, attached to Europe or the United States or China. These days are gone. I mean, I heard someone the other day tell me that before the British came to India, before the Raj, India had something like 20% of the world's GDP. I was astonished by this. And when the British left, it was something like 3 or 4 or 5%. Now, a lot had changed in the world during that period of time. But what it suggested to me was that there is another version of history that I wasn't even aware of, that suggested that the capability and talent of India to be a powerhouse is there, was always there. And you know, if there's never been a better time to realize that now, it's got to be with these twin revolutions of new energy, you know, renewables and electric mobility. Am I right, Naveen?
Absolutely, Roger. I'm in sync with you on this. I agree.
So Manoj, I hope that answered your question.
I'm very happy to hear that, sir.
Munjal sir, last question from my side.
Go ahead, Umesh.
Sir, if any startup came down to you and they asked for like for making a curriculum for a new generation, like if I say we as an energy, we are focusing to develop skill India and skill development in the students and upcoming new employees. So we want like we need this new curriculum from this industry. Who can guide us to develop this curriculum and to develop this skill development in, for employees and students? Can
Happy to do that. I can put somebody from my team also on it, and I can also assist with that. In fact, we do believe, and I personally believe in sharing my knowledge and information, whatever that I've gathered in experience all these decades, with new and upcoming and students especially. In fact, so much so that I'm actually going to be teaching an MBA class later this year in one of the universities here in Gurgaon. I'm going to be teaching on electric mobility, and that's something that I'm quite looking forward to. So I'm very happy to do mentorship. I'm very happy to talk about our experiences, and both good and bad. I mean, you know, we've made mistakes along the way for sure. And I'm happy to talk about my mistakes also. If somebody can learn out of it and not make the same mistakes as we did at that point of time, we are very happy for that. So happy to support you on that. You've already got my email address and my number, etc. You can reach out to me after this. We can help you in some shape or form on formulating a curriculum. I'm happy to talk at such forums where there are students and where there are people who are willing to learn and wanting to learn about electric mobility. I'm more than happy to do that.
Kamlesh, can I ask
thank you, sir. Sorry for interruption. Ministers are having some cause, so she left it.
Kamlesh, can I ask one last question? Mr.
Yeah. Please.
Mr. Munjal, hi, this is Stanley here, working from Midwest. It's great to hear from you. My specific question to you is about battery swapping stations. We have been looking at Gogoro, we have been looking at Sun Mobility, and various other battery swapping station providers. So how do you see them contributing in the future? And because they incur a good amount of infrastructure costs and everything. So what are your comments on them? Because I remember seeing one of your scooters, the Hero Electric NCX, which comes with the swappable battery. So what are your views specifically on bigger applications like a car or a bus where the batteries are humongously big?
So, okay, Stanley, good question. I'm going to divide it up into various categories. Let's look at public transport and buses first. Can battery swapping work there? Yes, can work, because they are doing the circuit. They're doing a proper circuit. Though the battery is very large, it's a few tons, but nevertheless, using robotics and using different technologies, you can have a swappable battery. Because in public transport, in commercial vehicles, you cannot be standing for too long to charge your vehicles. So the bus goes, does a round, comes back, and the battery is swapped, and Sun has already developed batteries for that application. So that's one. For cars, is it possible? At this point, no. There is a lot of money which has already gone in, and Roger would agree with me on this, on the business model that Better Place had about 10 years back, if you remember, Roger, and how much money they raised and how that went down the drain. So what happens with something like a car is you've got different, for a fleet is okay. For one company and a fleet and one form factor is okay. But if you look at cars, if you look at automotive, different companies have different technologies, different shape and form. SUV versus a sedan versus a hatchback versus small, large. Are they all willing to share a similar platform to have the battery? They're not at this point. So battery swapping in one model, one vehicle, Nissan is using it quite effectively in Japan, in Tokyo, for example, for their taxi service, where they are using battery swapping. So cars is more difficult to do for consumer applications. But if it comes for commercial applications where you're doing deliveries or taxis and you've got one form factor, it's doable. It's very doable. Then we come to three-wheelers. Absolutely makes sense. When you look at e-rickshaws or you look at e-autos, they don't have the infrastructure to charge the vehicles, and it absolutely makes sense to do battery swapping for them. Whether it's and better to use lithium because you can swap it out, take it out, and that's what Sun and Exicom and Ola, etc. That's what they're doing. When it comes to two-wheelers, now you've got to divide it up. One is your commercial applications, deliveries, etc. For those applications, it absolutely makes sense because again, you are delivering the product and coming back to the base location where you can swap your batteries. Now that swapping infrastructure didn't exist, so we made our batteries portable, which means you can take it out, leave it there, charge it, and then go deliver, come back and replug another battery. So there it makes sense. Consumer applications, it's a chicken and egg situation. Now, if you don't have a dense enough infrastructure for swapping, consumers are not going to buy it. You're used to going to a petrol station which is not too far. You're not going to go 20 kilometers away into a petrol station. So even if you're a city like Nagpur or you're in Delhi or Mumbai or Bangalore or whatever, you need a very dense swapping infrastructure. So that infrastructure, even in a neighborhood, needs to fall in place first. This is that some people will start to adopt and then you expand from there. People are not going to buy vehicles first and then wait for the infrastructure to come because you're used to not going too far. And in our case, what we are saying is one of the advantages our vehicles have is they're portable batteries. So you charge them at home, you're not going anywhere. You're not going to a petrol station. You're not even going to a service station. If you have a swapping station and which is not dense enough, you defeat the purpose. If you look at a place like Delhi, in CNG stations, even though we have a number of them in Delhi, but if you go at night, there are buses and taxis and autos standing, waiting to refuel. Even at midnight, there's a queue of them outside. So you don't want that. We are not used to that any longer. So that will happen once there is substantial investments into swapping, and that swapping infrastructure will probably happen first with B2B and then translate to B2C as economics play a very important role there. I hope that answers.
Thank you, Mr. Munjal. Thank you for your answer.
Well said, Naveen. Well said.
Hello, Mr. Kamlesh, can I ask the question to Munjal sir and
yeah,
Apurva sir?
It's a last question because it's overtime. Munjal sir having some of the other meeting also.
Yeah, we'll ask quickly.
Yeah.
Sir, this is Mukund Parmar. I just wanted to understand the ecosystem for the new startup in EV two-wheeler space, where they can get the support in terms of funding, technology, sourcing, and all that. If anybody wants the support in terms of all those things, can you share your thoughts on this?
Sorry, what's the question? I didn't quite understand.
I repeat, sir, I just wanted to know the ecosystem in India for EV two-wheeler manufacturing. It can be an assembly, it can be from the design stage. So I need the support in terms of sourcing, in terms of technology. So what are the sources available? If you can share.
See, what's happening is right now there are a number of battery companies. For example, if you look at the drivetrain, there are a number of battery companies who are assembling the batteries in India.
Mm-hmm.
Those are already available. You can Google it. There is going to be a number of them showing up. Companies like Exicom and Trontech, and there are a bunch of others who are doing lithium-ion batteries. There are batteries which are coming in from even Excite, etc., have lead acid and working on lithium-ion as well. There are a number of motor manufacturing, but the Indian motors are right now competitive only in the larger size, 2 kilowatts and over. Below that, the majority of the motors right now are coming in from China and from other places, because Indians, we don't have that level of scale at this point. And when you look at the other parts of the drivetrain, your battery, your controller, your charger, etc., your BMS, there are a number of Indian companies who've already started making that, including the likes of Bosch and all. They already have the full drivetrain in India, which is the battery, controller, motor, charger, etc. That's already there. So for the electricals drivetrain, they're there. For the non-electrical mechanical parts, you've got the likes of the tire companies already making the tires, and you've got the shocker companies like Gabriel and Munjal Shobha, etc., already making shock absorbers. So the supply chain for a large part is already in place in India. I hope that answers, if that's the kind of answer that you were looking at.
Yes, I understand. But from the design stage, we need to design the products, and based on that, sourcing need to be done. Correct, sir. With the same way we need to go. Correct, na, sir?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay.
Munjal sir. Thank you, Munjal sir, for like coming down and taking time from your schedule. And thank you, Roger. Thank you, Karthik sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Lovely to see you again, Naveen.
Thank you. Pleasure seeing you, Roger. See you soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all who supported us, Venture Catalyst, NAC Maharashtra, IEEE, University of Punjab, CD University, Priyadarshini College of Engineering, Bodhi Ventures, and Startup Buddy, Electrical Vehicle Outlook, and Step Foundation. And thank you, our team, Energy Mobility. Thank you to all. Thank you. Thank you for participating. And give us feedback. How is it on our website? We'll sharing.
Kamlesh?
Yeah.
Can you share the presentation if possible to the people, or if I can send you my email ID?
Yeah. You can like write down my number. 844.
Just a minute. 844.
651.
651.
9550.
9550.
Yeah.
844.
So we can connect 651.
Yeah, 9500. 9550.
Yeah. You
Okay.
can visit our website also, Energy Mobility, or you can text me there only, or you can connect me on LinkedIn. We'll be there to respond to you anytime.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you to all, and just give our feedback. How is it? Because it's our first one, and we are nervous. That's why. Sorry for that. Yeah. Take care. Bye bye.